So does Jake Paul have autism? Hey guys, welcome back to the AspieWorld. I'm Dan. I have Asperger's syndrome, ADHD, OCD, and dyslexia. I make weekly videos on this topic, so if you're new around here and want to learn more, remember to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a video. And if you're watching on Facebook, please make sure to give this page a like and a follow so you get daily videos from me. So, does Jake Paul have an autism spectrum condition? I'll be discussing all of that and more within this video right now. Hey guys, just to start off, I always ask you to ask me questions on Instagram that I can read out at the beginning of every video I upload. So I'm going to read out 3 questions from Instagram. If you want me to read out your question in my next video, make sure you follow me on Instagram. Link in the description below, and my name is above here. So every week I ask you to ask me questions. I take 3 of those and feature them in a video just like this. Okay, so the first question is from StratasunX3, and they said, falling asleep while studying or during classes when it's not interesting, is this normal for girls? Are you asking if normal for girls in general or girls with an autism spectrum condition? I guess energy levels in females are different, and with anybody is different, but if you're not interested in something and you're falling asleep, there may be another issue there. I don't know how common this is, so if anybody has anything to add to this, please leave it in a comment below for this person because they may benefit from that. Okay, the next question is from Andrew Byrock, and they said, do you think if someone thinks they have ASD that they probably do have it? I can't get answers. I would say that if you think you have ASD, then I would go and speak to your doctor and get a referral to a specialist for an assessment. That's the best way to deal with that. Okay, and the last question is from HL Hartnett, and they said, how do I ask my mum for an Asperger's diagnosis? Well, there isn't a diagnosis process for Asperger's anymore, but there is a diagnosis for an autism spectrum condition, and you can do that by asking your mum to take you to your doctor and asking the doctor for a referral to an autism specialist. Oh. Okay guys, I'm super pumped for this video. I like thinking about it. Oh, hold on, I gotta drink of water in here. I've been thinking about it for quite a while, and I first was thinking about this because 2 things happened here, okay? Shane Dawson released a video inside the mind of Jake Paul, calling him basically like a psychopath or a sociopath or something. But before that, I remember I sat and took a like a video course from Jake Paul on about social media growth, because he's like a very wealthy entrepreneur. So the Pauls, both of them, Jake Paul and Logan Paul, are very wealthy social media entrepreneurs that do a very good job at doing that. So I wanted to learn more about how to, you know, work and run social media businesses and things like that. And he has a thing called Edfluence, which is like this program that he runs. During that actual Edfluence program, I was watching this, and he discussed the fact that he had ADD in there, which is attention deficit disorder, which is like ADHD without the hyperactivity in it, but some people call it ADD but when it is ADHD, and some people call it ADHD when it's ADD. It's just, you know, he has some low spectrum condition that he's already acknowledged, right? Now, I found this very strange because he's super hyperactive. In every single video you see him, he's like jumping off buildings and setting fire to cars and stuff. It's like, whoa. So this guy's super hyperactive, which definitely shows that he's got ADHD. Maybe not just the ADD thing, he has ADHD, which is also comorbid with an autism spectrum condition. Now, the other thing is that he is like super smart and obsessed with numbers, because one of the things that he was teaching us within this class is that he would get his phone out and he'd go through like analytical data, and he'd be obsessed with numbers. He'd even guess what his figures were going to be for the next video that's going to come out, which is crazy. Like, who does that? But he was really into it, and he could really dive into those numbers, and he loved analytics. Again, numbers and maths are usually very common with people with an autism spectrum condition, and I found that very interesting. Now, the big kicker was when Shane Dawson did his video on you know, the mind of Jake Paul. Is Jake Paul a sociopath? And he got you know, a friend of my friends, Katie Morton, to go there and do this like assessment of Jake Paul and talk about his issues. But one of the things we did learn about Jake Paul is that he seems very secluded. Like he's very distant from his friends. But watching this video, I realized that he's very similar to myself when he's around his friends. He doesn't really get all their social cues and their jokes and stuff. He's kind of in his own way, and a lot of people see this as being like narcissistic, where he has to be, you know, he has to want all the glory and this fame and this kind of like, he loves to feel like he's important, when in actual fact he's doing this for like an entertainment value. But he's not really a narcissist. But sometimes people say that people with an autism spectrum condition are narcissists when they're not, just that they don't understand social conventions and social cues and things like that. Jake Paul seemed to be very disconnected from that like version of reality his friends were living at the time, and he was really focused on like business skills and social media management and things that were like, to me, I find these very, very interesting, because it's almost like his brain, he was way different to his friends. He wasn't communicating the best way. Also, a lot of the times Shane was asking him questions, he didn't really know if Shane was asking the right question. He'd have him to repeat the question again, not really understanding what someone was saying. This is a high ranker for an issue with communication with someone with an autism spectrum condition. Something else that I found very, very interesting was that he has a difficult relationship with his brother, a difficult relationship with his mum and dad, and this shines through where he felt more comfortable to live, you know, a few states away from his mum and dad. Like, they're from Ohio and he moved to LA, and he feels way more comfortable living in LA on his own in this huge house than being with his, you know, his family in Ohio. And he says in it that he doesn't have the best relationship with his parents for, you know, for a number of different reasons. Now, he also had an issue with focusing in classrooms. He was talking about how when he was in school, the teachers would say, oh, you never amount to anything, and that they didn't really understand his needs, but he was also a super clever guy. And let's just face it, if Jake was no good at business management, numbers and things like that, he would never be able to manage a multi-million-dollar social media enterprise and 2 companies the way he does. You know, he's very good at that, and I think his brain engages in that in a certain way, which I would say was super common with somebody on the autism spectrum. He is very anxious. He has had low points in his life where he's felt depressed. He displays traits of like OCD. So OCD, you see him showing his like wardrobe or his closet in his house, and everything is like super perfectly put away. For a young guy who's jumping off buildings and setting stuff on fire and racing cars, you'd think that he'd have less of an organization to his stuff. Everything's like color coordinated, and his shoes are in a certain way and all this kind of stuff. And that leads me to believe that there could be an element of OCD there, and I think he hints on this a little bit as well. Also, the way he talks is very monotonal, and he doesn't have much excitement in his voice unless he's acting, which is what he does in his videos. When he's being interviewed by Shane Dawson, he's very like calm, and his voice is very monotonal. Also, Jake finds it really hard to keep down a relationship. He's been through a lot of women, and there's always a drama with it, you know, and they always say that, like, at the end of it, they say they can't deal with him because of the way he is, and like they don't really gel with him, and he's like possessive or whatever. But these are all very much an indication to say that, you know, his brain is wired differently, and they're having an issue dealing with the way his brain is wired differently. And I think it's because of the understanding. Like, if Jake doesn't understand himself, then how on earth is he going to communicate that to anybody, even if he has communication issues, like if he has an autism spectrum disorder? Now, Jake Paul never touched on this, but did touch on the fact that, you know, is it another condition? He said, you know, could it be bipolar? Could it just be narcissism? Is it something else? And, you know, Shane Dawson goes on and on about this for a while, and I found this quite interesting that he never mentioned anything about autism. And I was going to tweet Jake about this and Shane and say, like, hey, you know, do you think that, you know, Jake could be on the spectrum? Or even email Katie and say, hey, do you think it's a spectrum condition? But nobody touched on this, and I found it was really bizarre that nobody touched on this. And I know that loads of people have a load of hatred for Jake Paul and the Pauls in general because of all the stuff they do and the stupidity that they come across. But at the end of the day, you know, they're very good entertainers. They're big business guys, and I feel like people need to cut them a little bit of slack if they have mental health conditions. I know Logan's just released a video on like holes in his brain or something, and it's like why the behavior that he's got to where he is, like his behavior is due to like there's holes in his brain or something that he's trying to mend. And again, I think we should take a step back and really look at people non-judgmental and say that maybe, you know, they have a condition that we may not know of, and if they do have a condition that we may not know of, then we should be less judgmental on them and give them a little bit of a break. I don't know. But guys, let me know your thoughts on this. I'd love to know if you think Jake Paul has anything other than just ADHD. I'd love to know. Please put it in a comment in the comment section below. That's all, guys, and I'm just super pumped to get this video out. I was buzzing to get this video done, and I'm so happy I did. So guys, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure to check out the videos each side of me because they may interest you, and I'll see you next time, guys. Peace.